This is Peggy Anne Salz, and this is The Groove, and this is an opportunity to catch up not only with some of the cool companies and people, but catch up with friends. How about that, Martin? Martin Macmillan, who I have known, it is 10 years from today that we met the first time. You've seen them come and go. What's changed in 10 years for you?
I was looking through all my presentations and stuff, and I actually gave a presentation at this event exactly 10 years ago when we launched Pollen VC. So it was really, really funny to go back through how everything's changed in our world, but also in the industry as well. I think it still seemed pretty nascent back in 2014, but now, listening to some of the talks today and so on, people are just like way more data driven. They are way more analytical. It was much more emotional back in those days, way more analytical these days.
A little bit more fun too.
Arguably, yes. Yeah. And people could make money more easily as well. It was before all the woes of attribution and these things were all taken away.
And I remember listening to you, and I was absolutely blown away. You were ahead of your time, Martin, to your credit. I was absolutely blown away. I thought that's going to be it, because you want to have a steady source of income, and it won't work out if you have to continually chase those cycles. And you got it. That was the beginning of Pollen VC.
That was the biggest challenge we've had since day one of Pollen VC is educating the market. Because what always happens is founders are running the finances of their studios. They're not necessarily sort of financial experts as well. And so it was really, really tough in the early days. I'm glad to say that it's a lot easier now. People understand the concepts of debt financing. They understand the value that non-dilutive financing can bring alongside their equity investors. So it's much easier now. In those early days, I might as well have been talking to some of those founders.
I remember also, full disclosure, doing some content marketing with you as well. And it was like, no, this is really cool. Let me tell you about it. And it was like, nope, they're not quite on that level, but we are now. We are on that level. And that's where we're actually speaking more with CFOs and financial officers, people in finance at games, at app companies. And if they're not there, breed them, make them, cross-pollinate them for pollen, create that education. What's your efforts now in that direction?
And in doing this now for 10 years upon VC, I saw this path repeat itself time and time again, which was basically that founders are always running the finances of the studio from zero until sometimes $10 million a year in run rate or higher. And as well as running user acquisition, building the game or building the app, etc. And then all of a sudden, they wake up one day and decide, hey, we need a proper CFO. We need a trained accountant at the helm of this $10 million company. So they would hire someone typically who might have worked for a big accounting firm like KPMG or something like that for 15 years. And all of a sudden they want to get out of the suit and work for a startup. Great. Super well qualified, super competent people. They get catapulted into the world of apps and games. They have a whole new set of jargon to learn around cohorts and LTV modeling and all of these things. And consistent feedback, it's a very, very lonely place. They might be super competent, super technical, all the rest of it. But when catapulted into this, it's a very, very lonely job. So a couple of weeks ago, I launched a side project upon VC called Mobile Finance Collective. So I've really wanted to do this for probably almost 5 years since I first spotted the opportunity. And it's only now I've recently had the bandwidth to be able to do that as a side project to Pollen. So Mobile Finance Collective, or MFC, is basically a community for finance professionals and founders in the apps and gaming world. So this isn't a generic sort of CFO WhatsApp group or something like that. It's very, very tailored for people in the world of apps and games, specifically giving them a community and a voice around financial topics.
We used to do some content together. People like Simon over at Space Ape Games, super smart, understood this from day one. How's that progressing? How is that sort of working? Do you go to games companies? Are they coming to you? How are you getting the word out? Because certainly, there's an education gap.
The way I've approached it is actually been lucky enough to have obviously built up a big network over the last 10 years. I've never personally been the CFO of a gaming company, so what do I know? But I know a lot of people that have. So managed to curate a really, really top tier lineup of industry mentors. So we've announced 4 to start with, and I'll be announcing 1 a month over the coming months. And these are from, for example, ex-CFO, Eric Ludwig was the ex-CFO of Glue Mobile. We have Hong, who's the current CFO of SpaceApe. We have Natalia, who's the CFO at Zepso Lab. We have Marcus Vattila, who's a former CFO at Fingersoft. So people who have really, really been there and done that, who've recognized the need for a sense of community and who are happy to invest a little bit of their time to do webinars, office hours sessions, as well as be active on all the different community threads we have in the app.
That's really exciting because of what you're bringing together. It's a community. It'll need some nurturing, but it will also need to perhaps focus on what is, where are CFOs, where are game studios struggling the most? Now, it used to be before just sort of understanding the mechanics of gaming, but now it's even much, much more than that. It's not performance marketing. It's not just LTV. There's predictive LTV. There's models. There's everything. What are you finding that the community is most excited about exploring through the collective?
What I'm doing right now is I'm doing onboarding calls with every new member that signs up in order to get really a sense. I mean, I certainly don't have a monopoly on the right answer here in terms of what the community needs. So they have to let me know. And our team know basically what they're looking for. Then we curate the content, etc., for them. So in the last, I've done 2 onboarding calls in the last 24 hours, and there's quite a range of things. Obviously, user acquisition is a key topic. It's very very hard to get heads around, and what people are really looking for is the knowledge of what other people have been doing, what strategies have worked, how to measure. So, for example, we had one question yesterday morning say, I want to know how other gaming studios have, they structure themselves versus finance versus UA versus ad monetization versus product. So there's not a right or a wrong way to do it. And what this particular CFO was looking for is basically like a range of how are other people doing it? What are the different options here? But sometimes it goes, the UA stuff you could argue is the kind of sexier side of it. But there's sometimes like really, really mundane things like, I need to change accounting system. I need to get off QuickBooks. What should I use? So lots of people have been through exactly the same journeys. They've beauty paraded 6 or 7 different vendors or whatever it is might be, and they're very happy to share the output of those. And then sometimes it's like we've had an HR thread coming up recently, which is everyone is managing remote workforces all over the place. So you might have had 10 people in California, and that was nice and easy to manage. Now you've got 10 or 20 or 50 people, and they're literally all over the world. So how do you manage that from a regulatory and a compliance point of view? So all of these challenges land on the desk of the CFO or the VP of finance or head of finance or whatever they're called. And it's really, really useful for them to have a community of people that they can go talk to, that they can understand what have other people done. Because 9 out of 10 times, what will happen is that someone who's posting a particular question, that particular question has been solved by 10 people in the community who are very happy to share. Never sharing numbers, never sharing anything confidential, but just sharing the methodologies and some of the high level kind of approaches to what's worked or not.
And that's exactly what the industry needs right now, to your point. It's not necessarily the numbers, it's the practices, it's some advice. And this is something, as you said yourself, you wanted to do it 5 years ago. So this is your experiment, and congratulations for kicking it off, Martin. So what else is on the list for Martin Macmillan? Because again, I've known you for a decade, Martin. So you have never ceased to reinvent yourself. You're like I don't know, I mean it as a compliment. I'll just say the Bowie of mobile, but I mean that really well. Reinventing constantly, because I respect Bowie. What's next for you?
My day job is exactly the same as always was, running Pollen VC. So we did a transaction earlier this year where we were acquired by Fastenara Capital, who was our main finance provider since then. So that deal means simply that we're able to do larger deals, more structured deals and so on than we were previously. So it removed effectively all the capital constraints we had, where we were typically funding smaller deals up to maybe $1 million or a couple of million. We're able to go much, much bigger than that now. So we're currently funding deals. Our largest deal size is $25 million. So that's been like super positive for us. It's been able to allow us to focus on what we're good at around originating deals and servicing those deals and so on. And being part of that wider group has been super positive for our business. And the main thing we're doing now is going up the value chain, looking for larger, more interesting deals.
You're looking at the industry. I am too. Just leave me with a thought of something else that might find its way onto your bucket list. What's exciting for you? Or is this what you're doing and simply deepening it?
No, again, you do something for so long, you end up seeing it a lot of different ways. One of the things I've really seen evident in the market is, and this is again from talking to hundreds of CFOs and finance leads, is their ability to build models is always constrained by their ability to use Excel. So sometimes we see models that are in 20 cells in Excel for a company that's making several $1 million a month. What always happens is they will start small, and the CFOs or head of finance will keep building more and more complex models, always in Excel, always in Google Sheet. And unfortunately, they just don't have the granularity to really, project out over years and years. So I think there's something to be done there around, help with financial modeling, but laser focused. Normally it's for an audience of one who's the CFO, but what I see an opportunity is basically in widening that to basically give the CFOs a much, much deeper set of tools to model financial outcomes.
I think I hear the next big project from you, and it certainly is on the money. And Martin, always a joy to catch up and hear what's going on in your mind, because it's a petri dish of what's coming next.
You know me too well. And yeah, here's to another 10 years sitting here on the steps in the brewery. So yeah, here's to another 10 years. Thank you so much, Peggy.
Absolutely, Martin. I know you're going to go, but later on we do catch up. We do have that G&T together, and I'd hug you if I could, but what the hell? Come here.